right, so welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going all the way to Eastern Europe. We're diving into Romanian restaurant taxes.
Oh, yeah.
Which I know doesn't sound like the most exciting topic.
Right.
But stick with us because it actually gets pretty interesting. I've been looking through this guide. It's called Restaurant Success Blog. And it's written by Menuviel. And honestly, some of the things I found in here were pretty surprising. Imagine, like, you're about to open a restaurant in Romania.
Yeah.
Like your dream location, killer menu, the works.
Right.
But before you even think about like the first sizzle on the grill, there's a whole tax landscape to navigate.
Absolutely. Yeah. And honestly, getting it wrong can really, it can be the difference between like a bustling popular bistro and just a total financial flop.
Yeah. So you really have to get this right. One of the first things that kind of caught me off guard was just the sheer number of taxes. Like it's not just one simple rate. It's a whole ecosystem. So you got VAT, income tax, social contributions, local taxes. Like it's a whole buffet of taxes, and you have to sample everything.
You really do. And it's important to be strategic about it because, like, you know, the Romanian tax system has its own logic to it.
Okay.
And understanding how it works can really help you make like informed decisions, even from like the very beginning with choosing a location.
Yeah, for sure. So let's start with VAT. That's probably the one that we hear about the most.
Right.
And we know like it's the tax that gets added on to goods and services and the customer pays it.
Yeah.
But what's unique about VAT in Romania?
Well, unlike a lot of countries that just have one VAT rate,
Right.
Romania actually has a whole system of VAT rates. It's multi-tiered. So what you charge customers depends on what you're serving.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So there's different VAT rates depending on what you're selling. Okay, so tell me more about this. What are some of the different rates?
So the standard rate is 19%.
Okay.
But then some food and drinks actually fall under a reduced rate, like 9%.
Oh.
And there's even a 5% rate for like special events.
What So that means that like if you're having a fancy wedding feast, your taxes are going to be a little bit lower.
Exactly. And this can actually like influence what kind of restaurant you even decide to open or what you put on your menu.
Right. So it's not just about like knowing the rates. It's about how you actually use those rates to kind of work the system a little bit.
Totally.
Okay. So we've got VAT sorted, but then we come up to income tax. And in Romania, there's two different systems.
Yes. So you have the corporate system and you have the microenterprise system.
Okay.
And choosing the right one is really important for like how much you'll pay in taxes and also how your business can grow.
Okay. So walk me through this a little bit. What are the main differences?
Okay. So the corporate system is pretty straightforward. It's just a flat 16% tax on your profits. But to qualify, you have to have revenue that's more than €1 million.
Okay. So that's like the big players.
Exactly.
What about like the rest of us?
So if you're like just starting out, you would probably fall under the microenterprise system, which is for smaller businesses. And instead of taxing your profits, it taxes your revenue.
Okay.
So either 1% or 3%, depending on if you have employees.
Okay, so that sounds way better.
Oh, yeah.
1% on your revenue versus like 16% on your profit.
Right. So it can be tempting to go for that lower rate.
Right.
But there is like a catch with the microenterprise system.
I figured there had to be.
Because to stay in that system, you have to kind of like cap your revenue, which might not be great if you want to like, you know, expand and grow your business.
Right. So it's kind of a trade-off, like lower taxes now, but potentially less room to grow in the future.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's a tough decision for like a new restaurant owner.
Definitely. Like it depends on your ambitions and your goals for the business. Do you want to stay small and like cozy,
right,
or build like a restaurant empire?
Okay. So speaking of building an empire, let's talk about the cost of staffing, because obviously that's a huge part of running a restaurant. But it turns out in Romania, there's a lot more to it than just paying like an hourly wage. And that is social contributions.
Right. Yeah. And this is where things get, interesting. So social contributions include things like pensions, unemployment benefits, and health insurance. And it's a shared responsibility between the employer and the employee.
Okay, so tell me about the shared responsibility. Like, how does that work?
Okay, so the employee pays 25% for Social Security.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
And then 10% for their health insurance.
Okay.
Which, you know, that's quite a bit already. But then on top of that, the employer has to pay another 2.25% for the employee's Social Security.
Wow. So it's not just the hourly rate. You have to factor in all of these contributions.
You really do. And it's all part of like maintaining the social safety net in Romania.
Okay.
So it does provide a lot of security for employees.
Okay.
But it's a cost that employers need to think about.
For sure, yeah. So you have to factor that into your budget when you're figuring out how many staff you can afford and that kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so we've covered like the big national taxes like VAT and income tax.
Right.
But as if that wasn't enough, then you've got this whole other layer of the local taxes.
Oh, yeah, the joys of local tax.
And this is where like choosing the right location for your restaurant becomes even more important.
Absolutely.
Because these local taxes can vary a lot, right?
Yeah, a lot. Like depending on where you are, one town might be completely different from the next town over.
So tell me about some of the things that might be included in local taxes.
So you've got like property taxes on your building, and these can be anywhere from like 0.08% to 1.3%.
Oh, wow. That's a big range.
Yeah.
Okay. What else?
You might have business licenses, fees for outdoor seating, waste disposal, like you name it.
So basically you could fall in love with like a charming cobblestone street and think that's the perfect spot for your restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
But then you find out the local taxes are just astronomical.
Exactly.
Okay. So that's really important to factor in.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've done VAT, income tax, social contributions, the wild world of local taxes. But hold on, there's more. If you plan to serve any alcohol in your restaurant, we have to talk about excise duties.
These are fun.
Okay, so what are excise duties?
Excise duties are basically like taxes on specific goods, like alcohol, for example. And they're pretty common around the world. They're a big source of revenue for governments, and sometimes they're used to like discourage people from drinking too much.
Right. Okay, so how does this affect a restaurant owner, though?
Yeah.
Because technically, the producer or importer is the one who pays that excise duty initially.
True, but then that cost just gets passed down the line.
Right.
Until eventually it hits the restaurant owner.
So you have to factor that in when you're setting your prices.
Exactly.
Okay, so and the rates vary depending on the type of alcohol.
Right. So like beer has the lowest rate.
Okay.
Wine is somewhere in the middle. And then spirits have the highest excise duty.
Okay, so if you're planning on opening a cocktail bar, that's going to affect your profit margins.
Big time.
Okay, so we've done VAT, income tax, social contributions, local taxes, excise duties.
Wow.
I need a nap.
Me too.
But there's one more piece of this puzzle we have to talk about.
What's that?
And that is payroll taxes.
Oh, yeah, the never-ending story of payroll taxes.
So I know we have to, like, withhold income tax from our employees' paychecks, right? But it turns out there's a whole bunch of stuff the employer has to pay on top of that.
Yeah, it can be a lot, especially for restaurants that have, like, a big staff.
So what kind of things are included in these payroll taxes that the employer has to pay?
So you've got, like, Social Security contributions, you've got unemployment insurance, there's like a whole bunch of different components to it.
Okay. And is it just like a flat percentage?
Yeah.
Or does it vary?
Well, the percentages stay the same for like Social Security, health insurance, all those contributions, but they get applied differently depending on if somebody's full-time or part-time.
Oh, okay. So it's like a proportional thing.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So even if someone's just working a few hours a week, you still have to calculate all these things?
You do. You do.
That's a lot of math.
Yeah. It is. So a lot of restaurants end up using software to like help manage payroll and calculate all those things.
Okay, so having a good system for your payroll is really essential.
It is. And it helps you avoid like making mistakes and getting penalized later on.
Okay, so, wow. We have covered a lot of ground in this first part of our Romanian restaurant tax deep dive.
I know, we've been through a lot.
VAT, income tax, social contributions.
Yeah.
Those crazy local taxes, excise duties, and even the complicated world of payroll taxes.
Yeah, but we're just getting started.
I know.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into Romanian restaurant taxes. I hope you're ready for more.
I'm ready. I had my coffee. Bring it on.
Okay, so last time we went through like the basics of VAT, income tax, social contributions, local taxes, excise duties, payroll taxes.
It was a lot.
It was a lot. We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, but now I think we get to the good part.
The fun stuff.
The fun stuff. We're talking about deductions.
Yes. This is where things get exciting.
Okay, so deductions.
Yeah.
For anyone who's like never done their taxes before, explain to me how deductions work.
Okay, so basically deductions let you reduce your taxable income. So you can deduct certain expenses from your revenue.
Okay.
And that lowers the amount of money that you have to pay taxes on.
Okay, so like what kind of expenses are we talking about here? Besides like the obvious, like food costs.
Right. So obviously you can deduct the cost of your ingredients and, all the supplies you use in your restaurant,
Yeah.
but you might be surprised to learn that you can deduct a lot more than that.
Okay, give me some examples.
Okay, so for example, marketing expenses are fully deductible.
Really?
Yeah, so think about those flyers you hand out, or your website, or even social media ads.
Wow.
It's all part of attracting customers, and the Romanian government actually wants to encourage you to do that.
So they're basically saying hey, go out there and get customers. We'll help you out with the taxes.
Exactly. And it's not just marketing. You can also deduct travel expenses if they're related to your business.
Okay, so if I'm going to a food expo to, look for new ingredients and meet suppliers, I can deduct that.
You can. As long as the main purpose of your trip is business, you can deduct the cost of travel, accommodation, all of that.
Okay, so it's not like a free vacation.
No.
But if you're combining business with a little bit of pleasure...
You can make it work.
Okay, what else? What other surprising deductions are there?
This one might surprise you. Even uniforms are tax deductible.
Really?
Yeah. So if you want to outfit your staff in snazzy aprons or T-shirts with your logo, that's all deductible.
So they're kind of encouraging you to invest in the image of your restaurant.
Exactly. They want you to look good. They want you to attract customers. They want you to grow your business.
Okay, so it sounds like deductions are pretty great.
They are.
But then there's this whole other thing called tax credits.
Ah, yes, tax credits.
Now, I get confused between deductions and credits. Can you explain the difference to me? I'm 5 years old.
Okay, I'll try. So imagine you're at the grocery store.
Okay.
And you have a coupon.
I love coupons.
Who doesn't? So a deduction is like getting a discount on the price of your groceries before you pay. It lowers the total amount you have to pay.
Okay.
But a tax credit is like getting cash back after you've paid. So it directly reduces the amount of tax you owe.
Oh, okay. So a credit is even better than a deduction.
Yeah. In a way, yes, because it's a direct reduction of your tax bill.
Okay, so what kind of credits are available for restaurants in Romania?
Okay, so there are a few really good ones. First of all, there's R&D tax credits.
R&D. That sounds more like something for tech companies, not restaurants.
Yeah, you might think so.
Yeah.
But actually, it applies to any kind of innovation, even in the food industry.
Oh.
So if you're developing new recipes or coming up with new food technologies, anything like that, you might be eligible for an R&D tax credit.
Okay, so they're encouraging restaurants to be creative, basically.
Exactly. They want you to experiment. They want you to come up with the next big thing.
Okay, what other credits are there?
Another good one is training credits.
Oh, interesting.
So if you invest in training your staff, like sending them to courses or workshops, you can get a tax credit for that.
Wow, so investing in my team can actually save me money.
Yep, that's the idea.
Okay, any other credits I should know about?
Yeah, there's also green energy credits.
Green energy?
Yeah, so if you install solar panels on your restaurant or buy energy-efficient appliances, you can get a tax credit for that too.
So they're encouraging restaurants to be sustainable.
Exactly. It's a win-win for everyone.
Okay, so we've got deductions, we've got credits. It sounds like the Romanian tax system is actually kind of rooting for you.
I think so.
They want you to succeed.
They want you to do all the right things.
Okay, but let's be real. Mistakes happen.
Oh, they do.
Even with the best intentions, you could mess something up.
For sure.
So what are some common mistakes that restaurant owners should try to avoid?
Okay, well, one of the most common ones is misclassifying employees.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. What's the big deal with that?
So basically, you need to understand the difference between full-time employees, part-time employees, and independent contractors.
Okay.
And if you get those categories mixed up, you can end up owing a lot more in taxes and social contributions.
Oh, okay, so that's definitely something you want to get right. What other mistakes should we watch out for?
Another common one is not keeping your personal and business expenses separate.
Ah, okay, so that's like using your personal credit card to buy ingredients for the restaurant.
Exactly. And then it's hard to track everything when it comes time to do your taxes.
So keep it all separate.
Yeah, have a separate bank account, a separate credit card for your business.
Okay, good advice. And I guess this all ties into the importance of good record keeping.
Oh, absolutely. Good record keeping is essential, especially if you get audited.
Okay, speaking of audits, everyone's worst nightmare, right?
Yeah, it's not fun.
What actually happens during an audit? Is it as scary as it sounds?
It's not like the movies where they come barging in with guns and handcuffs.
Okay, that's good to know.
It's more like they'll just go through your financial records and make sure everything's in order.
So basically, if you've been keeping good records, you should be fine.
Exactly. And if you have an accountant, they can help you prepare for the audit and make sure everything's organized.
Okay, so having a good accountant is pretty important.
It can really save you a lot of stress.
All right, so we've talked about the basics. We've talked about some potential pitfalls.
We've covered a lot.
But most of us are not tax experts, right?
Yeah.
So what are some tools or resources that restaurant owners can use to make this whole process a little bit easier?
Okay, well, one of the best things you can do is invest in some accounting software.
Okay, I've heard of accounting software, but is it really worth it? Can it actually make this whole tax thing less painful?
Oh, definitely. Accounting software can do so many things for you. It can track your income and expenses, calculate your taxes, even manage your payroll.
So it's like having a virtual accountant.
Kind of, yeah. It takes care of all the boring stuff so you can focus on running your restaurant.
Okay, I'm liking the sound of this. What are some good accounting software options for Romanian restaurants?
Okay, so there are a few popular ones. You've got QuickBooks and Xero.
Right.
Those are international options, but they work really well for Romanian businesses too. And then there's some Romanian-specific software like Saga C.
Okay, and what's special about Saga C?
Well, it's designed specifically for the Romanian tax system. So it knows all the rules. It can handle VAT submissions, payroll, all that stuff.
Okay, so it's like having a Romanian tax expert built into your computer.
Pretty much.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Any other software options I should know about?
There's also Zoho Books, which is kind of a newer player, but it's gaining popularity.
Okay.
It's good for managing invoices, expenses, and taxes.
All right, so we've got a bunch of different software options.
Yeah.
But what about resources from, the government itself? Do they offer any help to restaurant owners?
Believe it or not, they do.
Really?
Yeah, the Romanian National Agency for Fiscal Administration, or ANA,
Okay.
they actually have a lot of resources for tax close.
So they're not just like the big scary tax man?
No, they actually want to help you get it right.
That's refreshing.
So they have a website where you can find all sorts of information about taxes,
Okay.
guidelines, deadlines, all that stuff.
Well,
You can even submit your taxes and make payments online through their portal.
wow. So convenient.
And if you get stuck, they even have a helpline you can call.
Really?
Yeah.
So you can just call them up and be like, hey, I'm confused about this tax thing.
Exactly. They're there to help.
That's amazing.
So they're trying to make it as easy as possible for businesses to comply with the tax laws.
Okay, so we've got software, we've got the government.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need a human expert.
Exactly.
When would you say it's essential to hire an accountant or a tax advisor?
Well, if your business is really complex, like you have multiple locations, or you're doing international business, that's definitely a good time to bring in an expert.
Okay, what else?
Also, if you're facing an audit, an accountant can be invaluable.
Okay, so they can kind of guide you through the whole process.
Exactly. They can make sure you're prepared, that you have all the right documentation.
Okay, so basically a good accountant is like peace of mind. All right, so it sounds like staying on top of Romanian restaurant taxes is all about being prepared, being organized, and maybe getting a little help from the experts.
I think that's a good summary.
All right, well, I think we've earned a break after that.
Yeah, I think so.
Join us next time for the final part of our deep dive into Romanian restaurant taxes. We'll wrap things up and leave you with some final thoughts. All right, so welcome back to the final part of our Romanian restaurant tax deep dive.
Yeah, we're in the home stretch now.
I know. I have to say, I was a little worried when we first started this. I thought it was going to be super boring.
Yeah.
But it's actually been pretty interesting.
It has, hasn't it? There's so much more to it than just paying your taxes. It's like a whole system.
Yeah, we've gone from feeling totally overwhelmed by all these different taxes to discovering all these little perks like deductions and credits.
It's like they're trying to help you out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we've covered VAT, income tax, social contributions, local taxes, excise duties, payroll taxes, the whole shebang.
The whole 9 yards.
And we've even talked about tools and resources that can help you, make this whole process a little bit easier.
Yeah, hopefully we've given people some good tips.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that really stood out to me was just this idea that tax systems, they're not just about collecting money.
Right.
They actually reflect a country's priorities and values.
Totally. It's like a window into their culture and their economy.
Yeah, and in Romania's case, it seems like they're really using the tax system to encourage certain behaviors, like investing in your business, training your staff, even going green.
Yeah, like those deductions for marketing, training, and energy-efficient equipment, it's like they're saying, we want you to do this stuff. It's good for everyone.
Exactly. It's like, let's all work together to make Romania a great place to do business.
Yeah, and a great place to eat, obviously.
Of course, of course. But now I'm curious, what was your biggest takeaway from all of this research? Like, what surprised you the most?
I think for me, it was the impact of local taxes. Like, I knew they existed, but I didn't realize how much they could vary from one town to the next.
Yeah, that was a big one for me too. Like, you could have two restaurants that are like right next to each other,
Right.
but they could be paying totally different amounts in local taxes.
Yeah, it's crazy. So you really have to do your homework when you're choosing a location.
For sure, yeah. Like, don't just fall in love with the first pretty building you see.
Exactly. Consider the taxes, too.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of our Romanian restaurant tax adventure. I hope you learned something.
I hope so, too.
And maybe, just maybe, you even found it a little bit entertaining.
We tried our best.
We did. And we'd love to hear from you. So head over to our website or social media and let us know what your biggest takeaway was. Or if you have any suggestions for future deep dives, we're all ears. Thanks for listening.